We did eventually get to a point where Lauren realised that she wasn't going to get better, and we did have conversations about that. She started talking in very general terms about death and dying, and eventually got to a place where she was able to talk about her own death. She's a very organised person. She liked to plan. She liked to know what was going to happen next. Yeah. So she then came out with a whole bevy of questions, didn't she, about what would happen next.
Yes.
I suppose the first of which was, well, what's it going to be like to die?
She wanted to know what we'd do with her body, what would she wear in her coffin, where would she be buried, and if we had a service as she expected that we would, who would come to the service. So there are all sorts of practical questions about, you know, how it was all going to proceed. We
chose a coffin together from the internet, you know, and looked at different styles. And strange, you have conversations about things which people never normally talk about, but in quite an ordinary way.
Yes.
And in the end, it was choosing a dress and a cardigan to wear in your coffin, and which toys you'd want, and where you would want to be buried. And we visited the place where she's now buried as well. It's a meadow, so there are no gravestones, and it was a lovely place for a picnic on that day, and it's a lovely place to go and visit for us now.
It is, yes, yes.
She was diagnosed at the end of her last year of primary school. Started on a year of treatment for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and which it was the initial round of treatment lasted for about 3 months.
Yes, I guess so, yeah.
And was successful apparently, but she quickly relapsed and went into a second round of treatment, finally had surgery, then radiotherapy, and then no further treatment was possible. So she went into the period of palliative care. I was worrying about having to tell Lauren she was going to die from about a year before it actually happened. Long before I even knew that would be something that would happen. It was always a worry. And so when we got to that point of knowing that, yeah, this is in fact going to happen, my first thought was we need somebody to help us through this. We didn't want a repetition of a telling of bad news that was going to be traumatic. I'd kind of use a phrase about palliative care, really, that it's the Dickensian, you know, best of times, worst of times, because the time that you do have, you appreciate so much. It's very intense. There's a lot of emotion and feeling, but a lot of it's positive. It's not all negative. And she did a lot of things that she really enjoyed in that period of time. I did actually visit a local hospice, children's hospice, to look at that possibility, because I think still at that stage I was perhaps worried about, can I cope? Lauren's choice was, I'm at home and I'm not going anywhere else now.
Yes,
because
that's right. I mean,
I'm here and this is where I want to be. From the professional's point of view, they are often looking ahead. They know what the next thing will be, and they've kind of a little bit got to wait for you to catch up with, because your emotional state and you're dealing with the impact of how you feel about it all can get in the way of your thinking clearly about, right, actually I've got to sort out some practical matters.
We felt able to be, as parents are, providing for your child, you know, looking after and providing for your child. And even though the kind of things you're providing, like, you know, morphine and oxygen, are a bit odd, that's just because of the circumstance. So it was really doing ordinary family things in an extraordinary setting, but still you felt as if you were just being a family.
Once we knew that Lauren wanted to be at home, we relied very much on one particular key worker from the hospital who was able to kind of stitch together all the different things we needed. So this person talked to our GP, to pharmacists, to district nurses, community nurses, the hospital, and they were able to bring together all the different sort of bits of support that we required. And I think that was hugely important for us, because otherwise it would have been a lot of phone calls to a lot of different agencies and a lot of different people. So I think to seek out somebody like that is invaluable. You know, don't be afraid to ask a question. You know, do we have to go to hospital for this? It was definitely a two-way street. You know, we were supporting Lauren, but she was supporting us, quite definitely, and was concerned about how I was coping, and, you know, would I be all right? And the transition from palliative care and Lauren being with us to just the day after she died, there's a fairly shocking transition there potentially. If we have, it's the one bit which we found, I think,
Yes.
maybe harder than the rest, because you have a lot of people looking after you, supporting you, and suddenly they're gone, and it's basically the two of you.
Yes, that's right.
For me, what helped was keeping in touch with a clinical psychologist, counselling, an organisation called the Compassionate Friends, which is for parents who've lost children. So talking to people who are in a similar position to yourself, who kind of know it from the inside, for me was probably one of the most supportive things. And being very kind to yourself in every possible way and giving yourself time.
ACT has written a booklet called A Family Companion to support parents. If you would like to order your free copy or have any questions at all about caring for a life-limited or life-threatened child, contact ACT.